For this presentation, we'll go over the writing process. For the purpose of this discussion, it's useful to make a distinction between writing as a process and writing as a product. Writing as a process is writing as a way of knowing or process of how students write. Writing as a product is writing as a way of telling or product of what students write. The main distinction here is that good product depends on good process. While we can look at the writing process in various ways, each within its own limitations, we believe that it's useful to see writing as a three-step recursive process of invention, composition, and revision. Some students arrive in college with strategies for managing all these steps of the writing process. Others have habits that have served them in high school but limit them in college. Still others have no strategy for writing at all. So which one are you? Here is an overview of the writing process in 5 steps. Step 1, pre-writing. Step 2, invention. Step 3, composing. Step 4, revising. And step 5, publishing. I want to bring up the word recursive that I mentioned earlier. What that means is you will be going back and forth. You don't stop inventing once you start composing. You don't stop composing once you start your revising. They go back and forth. Briefly, let's go over pre-writing, step 1. It's very important to understand the assignment. Ask yourself, what is my purpose? What is the genre? Who is my target audience or reader? Step 2, you'll want to learn to read as a writer. Generating ideas, organizing, contextualizing, and creating a working thesis. Step 3, composing, organizing or outlining, developing arrangement and form, selecting multimodal elements, and developing style. Step 4, revising. At this point, you should be receiving feedback and making improvements to your grammar, punctuation, spelling, and mechanics, as well as developing your memory and delivery options. Step 5 is the product. This is where you submit your assignment. Remember, good product depends on good process, and this is where you will earn an A. Step 1, pre-writing. It's what you do before you write anything. For pre-writing, you need to know what your assignment is, know what your purpose is, know what the genre is, know who your target audience is or the persons who will be reading your product, essay, work. And it's not necessarily your instructor. If you don't know, ask. Step 2, invention. It's a very important part of getting your writing process started. Here is where you will generate ideas and create a working thesis. Some techniques used to generate ideas include brainstorming, clustering, free writing, the 5 W's and how, journal writing, and topical brainstorming, thinking about definitions, analogies, consequences, and testimony, as well as read as a writer. Invention is also, as we discussed, recursive in that you don't stop inventing when you begin to compose, and you are composing even as you invent. Invention and composing go back and forth. let's take a minute to talk about what it means to read as a writer. With many academic papers, invention begins with reading a text, which we mean to broadly include everything from books to works of art, to results of scientific experiments, to cultural, social, and economic systems. We don't mean text from your phone. Students sometimes read these texts passively, satisfying themselves with absorbing the information in front of them. Instead, they need to read actively, raising questions or challenging the writer as they read. To read like writers, keep a reading journal and scribble at the margins of your books with questions and be critical. You should look for patterns. You might also note things like a word or theory that you don't understand, with the idea that you will do a little research to enhance your own understanding. It's very important as a college student to keep a reading journal. Step 3. Composing. To compose a text is a difficult task. A writer sits at the keyboard, facing a blank screen, and must make the decisive first step that sets the writing process in motion: composing. Some young writers get blocked. Either they are perfectionists who keep writing the same first sentence again and again, trying to get it right, or they're terrified of making a decision and so continue to stare at the page as the clock ticks on. Other young writers have no trouble with their writer's block, but they have trouble shaping their thoughts into a coherent essay. These writers see writing simply as the process of getting what's in their head onto the page. Once they've done a brain dump, they think that the paper is finished. They don't yet recognize the need to revisit the paper, to re-envision it, and to revise it. Students need better strategies. Experienced writers understand composing as a recursive process. As experienced writers draft, they discover new ideas and unexpected problems. At these junctures, they return to earlier processes. They brainstorm, resketch their ideas, rewrite their outlines. They inevitably revise or refine their thesis. Some young writers will find the process discouraging. This is typical and even as necessary as part of the writing process. Where do you write? When do you write? How much time are you giving the process? What does it mean to write? What are your standards? Do you wait till the last minute to write your essays and then turn them in? What are your writing habits?